So today we're honored to introduce Fabrizio to planetdrum.com. So you started playing drums when you were 10 years old, and then you went on to study with Max Farian. I would like to introduce you to our readers by talking briefly about how Fabrizio Cavallaro was born as a musician. Who were the most influential people and musicians during your journey that allowed you to begin your career as a full-time musician?
Well, actually, the way I started is I started when I was 10 years old in middle school. I really wasn't interested in music at all, but my mom forced me to go into the musical school. So since I had to do it, I was like, okay, I'll choose percussions. But the problem is that there are like freaking 40 students, applying for the percussion position because everyone wants to play the drums. So there was this audition where they would select only four out of all those guys. For some reason, I was able to make it in the audition. I just had to repeat some rhythms. And I still wasn't interested until the orientation day. When that happened, they played a small concert, and like the first 2 bars or 3 bars that the drummer over there played right in front of me, played like a groove. For me, like I got hit by this, insane emotion where, literally in a split second, I went from not caring at all about it to knowing, that would have been kind of my life calling. So that's how it started, and then I went on to study with Max Farian, who was an extremely influential teacher for me, and he was the first guy that believed in me and supported me, and spoke to my parents more than once about me doing it professionally. My parents were always supportive about it, so that's how it started. Yeah, these are the most influential people for sure.
Okay, so after studying at Berkeley and you started your career as a professional drummer and you were able to work with pop stars, work on TV shows, a talent show in China, multiple recording studios, what kind of qualities do you think are necessary on a personal level to work in such different environments?
Well, actually, that's a really good question. In my opinion, that's when I learned the most, really, by trying to work here. Because when I first moved here, I didn't know anyone. I lived far away from the city in a super small room, it was as big as a closet probably. And every night, actually, I tried to travel to the city, and audition. Playing jam sessions and stuff like that, trying to meet musicians so that maybe I could go to auditions and stuff like that and start to find work. But the first 5 months were hard until I just very randomly I met this girl that she was a part of the management of Lito Vanissan, which is she's a very famous pop star, especially in Armenia. And so my first big gig, I got it like that. When I started working from her, then it was like a snowball effect. One gig after the other. Then I went to China for a few months. I was playing on a TV show that is seen by millions of people, every day. It was live recordings. So even then, you need to sight read a lot. It's a lot of skills that you need to have. What I learned the most, besides all the, amazing opportunities, was that after 1 year and a half of literally a dream coming true, I had one of the biggest setbacks because because of my attitude, I lost a lot of those gigs all of a sudden, all at the same time, kind of, and so I had 1 year where I really had the time to think about my mistakes, which were, there is a time to be a rock star, but that's definitely not if you're trying to be a session drummer, session musician, like no one cares about your opinion. Your goal is to just learn the music or like sight read, and do it well. Be nice to people. You get paid. You live. That's it. If you wanna have your opinion, if you wanna be a rock star, you do your own music, and over there you're free to express your artistic vision. So, I really learned how to be grateful for the job opportunities granted me from others, which allowed me then, after this year of like total, starvation, kind, you would say, to then every job I would get, man, I was super professional after that. I learned the music ahead of time. I showed up. I didn't say anything that wasn't required of me. And from there on, like, my gigs started growing again. And now it's good. But definitely, that was a really, really, really good learning experience for me.
And you auditioned for Berkeley and you got a scholarship and you were able to study with tons of professional musicians. How did that compare to moving to LA and making that into a profession?
Okay, so it's I mean, in both cases, it's a learning process. While I was in Berkeley, I learned a lot about like technical stuff and drumming stuff, even though most of it I already knew. Like studying with the teachers and mentors that I had in Berkeley was more like hearing their experiences about working at the levels they were working at. And also, honestly, Berkeley can be like a double-sided sword, kind of. Like, if you really come into the right environments and you start working like with the top-level productions at Berkeley, kind of, like, you're really gonna experience pretty much like situations that are very similar to actually working in real life, In my case, I was lucky enough and I was able to like be part of projects that reached millions of views. I even took, like, for example, like even Berkeley made a drum project, where they selected like just 9 drummers, out of the whole Berkeley. It was sponsored by Zildjian, and you need to record there. You just have like one take or whatever, just gotta make the best out of it. Or like when you're like recording with a full orchestra in Berkeley, it's like you really get used to working on a bigger production, with a lot of stress and pressure. So in that way, Berkeley for me, that I took, since I was lucky to be in all these projects, it really like taught me how to work, kind of, besides just being a technical type of teachings, you know what I mean? So in that way, it's pretty similar to the experience of working in Los Angeles, but then there are other things that I don't know, depending on what questions you're gonna ask me, I can cover, about my experience here.
So can you tell us about your setup?
Okay, so my setup actually, I'm really excited about, and it's the best sounding drums and the best looking drums I've ever, played in my life. It's Drum Sound, which is an Italian brand, is super premium, like literally the Ferrari of drums, and the finish is like, looks insane. You're gonna see it soon because they're shipping it right now to the US. But it's in terms of sizes, it's a 22-inch bass drum, and then like you have 8 by 7, 10 by 7, 12 by 8, 14 by 14, 16 by 16. Then I have one snare drum that is 14 by 5 in wood, and then I have another one which is in brass, which is 14 by 6. Then I have also a smaller bass drum for other kinds of gigs. One is a new project, which is like way shorter. It's like 8-inch, but it's 20 inches. And so yeah, I'm really excited about my setup. I can't wait to share it with everyone.
So I've had the chance to watch some of your videos from your master classes around the world and noticed you have a really unique approach to the concept of linear drumming. Can you talk about how you prepare for a clinic and what things you want people to leave with who come to learn from you?
How do I prepare for a clinic? You don't really, I would say you don't really prepare for a clinic. It's concepts that I've been working on for my whole life, kinda. And like even when I'm watching TV, I still think about linear drumming, maybe. So it's like stuff that goes on in my head for the whole time. So I really, throughout my whole life, I really got a chance to get creative with all these concepts. And then when I'm on stage and I'm in front of people, it comes even easier, in a way, because people are responsive to it and they have questions about it, But definitely, throughout the years, I developed, a whole method about it, which is like, well, it's a long story. It's all based on numbers and everything, but yeah. So the method is already developed, and then like every time is different. I want people to live. That was the second question. The way I want people to live with like practical concepts that they can apply to everything they do, rather than just preconceived licks. Then they can, it's just that lick, and then they can just play that lick. Instead, I want them to understand the concept so that they can move it around the drums. They can play it in different styles. They can play it different tempos, and they can also change the sticking and make it their own sound. So for me, it's more about concepts than preconceived licks. Okay.
So now we're gonna bring in the practice pad, and we're gonna have you
show
the followers some of the more basic concepts of linear phrasing.
All right, let's do that. Okay, so some of the most basic linear concepts. Actually, I subdivide linear drumming into numbers. So the way I see it is I subdivide it in grouping of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 notes. Sometimes I go to 9, but usually the other ones are just like kind of like a combinations of the smaller numbers. So the way I would start, if I was one of the readers, I would just assimilate each grouping in a basic form. So let's say grouping of 2, right? Just alternating singles between the two limbs. Then groupings of 3, 2 hands and 1 foot. Until going up to groupings of 8. Okay? But then after that, after you've assimilated the more basic groupings, I would suggest to put them together and create multiple numbers, okay, which form phrases. Let's say if I was in 16-note triplets, if I put together a grouping of 4 and a grouping of 8, or a grouping of 8 and a grouping of 4, I will come out with 12 notes, which can be used very easily in 16-note triplets. For example, I'll put together a grouping of 8, okay, which is going to be done by paradiddle diddle on the hands and 2 bass drum hits, followed by a grouping of 4, which is right, left, foot, foot. Okay, so I put them together in 16-note triplets. It's gonna be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right. This is kind of the approach. So if you speed it up, it's gonna sound cool. I'll count while I do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay, so this is 1. Then I'll give you also an idea of something you could do if it was a 16 notes type of phrasing. So we could put like 1 6, another 6, and then a 4. which is gonna be a total of 16 notes, right? So the groupings of 6, instead of playing them simply with single strokes, which is gonna sound boring and it's gonna sound like some progressive drummer from the freaking 80s. Okay, I'm not gonna make references to names, otherwise I'm gonna stop working for the rest of my life. Everyone is gonna hate me. They're gonna think that I'm an unprofessional musician. So anyways, so instead of using singles, which would sound like for the grouping of 6, I'm gonna put a paradiddle on the hands, which is still 4 notes, but it has dynamic to it. So instead of being, it's gonna be, okay? Same numbers, but different accents. So it's gonna be 2 groupings of 6, and then 1 grouping of 4. The 2 groupings of 6 are gonna be 1 paradiddle, 2 bass drum hits. Second paradiddle starting with the left hand, 2 bass drum hits, and then I'm gonna have 2 single strokes with the hands, and 2 bass drum hits for the grouping of 4. Like that, right? So let's start it slowly, and I'll count while I do it. 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 4 E and the. You see how the phrase is a dynamic shape right now, right? And feel free to create your own combinations instead, right? The grouping of 6 can be, but it can be also, it can be anything you want it to be, you know, as long as it's 6 notes, okay? So I'll play the same combination, and now I'll start it slow, and then I'll speed it up. I'll count for you. Remember, it's 6, 6, 4, which is made by paradiddle, 2 bass drum hits, paradiddle, 2 bass drum hits, left, right, foot, foot. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And this is just like 2 linear combinations that you can take home and work on them. If you want to see more about this, I'm gonna put out some content, you know, on my social medias, and especially I'm gonna create some packages where, like, you can just for a very small amount, you're gonna have very high number of licks and stuff that I'm gonna give away for free, or you can come to my masterclasses and check out all that stuff. See you soon.
We'd like to thank you for coming on Planet Drum today.
Thank you for having me.
We'd also like to let our audience know that we're going to be having a behind-the-scenes series on life as a drummer with Fabrizio.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. So stay tuned, guys. Be safe. Don't get in trouble. Practice as much as you can. And I'll see you soon, with all the respect.